This video today is for a delicious recipe and it's called Chicken Celestine. It has only a handful of ingredients. There's flaked almonds, baked apples and cream, and the chicken is sautéed and then it's braised. I came across this recipe in an Epicurean magazine that I picked up at a second-hand shop. Whoever owned this beforehand wrote what they liked on the cover, and it was exactly what I would have picked too. It calls for just 1.5 tablespoons of Grand Marnier, and it's no biggie. If you don't like cooking with alcohol or you can't get it, just substitute with a bit more chicken stock. And I find it really hard to get Grand Marnier, so I just usually get a little tiny bottle of Cointreau. And this recipe is 44 years old, and I'm really excited to share it with you to keep it alive. And this is how it goes. The first thing I like to do is put the apples in the oven and get them going, because it doesn't matter if they get cold because they'll be warmed up in the sauce later. And the recipe calls for 4 Granny Smith apples, and I've got 5 small ones here and they weigh 600 grams with the peel on. So I just cut them into cubes, put them into an oven-proof dish. Now the recipe calls for 90 grams of butter in total, but you'll need some of this to brown the chicken with, but the rest just dot over the apples. And I've preheated the oven to 180 degrees Celsius with a fan, which is 200 degrees Celsius conventional. And I'm just going to cook these until they're soft but not mushy, because I like them to retain their shape. So I'll check on them in 15 minutes. So the actual recipe actually calls for bone-in chicken pieces, like 1.3 kilo or 1 kilo. But what I have here is some lovely chicken thigh fillets with the skin on. I got these from the butcher and they work beautiful too. They probably need a little bit less cooking time than the bone-in pieces. So all I do is season them lightly with a bit of salt and a bit of pepper. I wash my hands so many times when I'm working with chicken. And then just flour them lightly. And in case you're gluten-free, I'm just using gluten-free regular plain flour. And if you're not, just regular plain flour. And if your chicken is wet, dry it first. Pat it dry with a paper towel or a clean cloth. Right, I'll have a little clean up and then it's time to cook. So the apples have been cooking in the oven just for about 15 minutes and they've still got a little while to go, but I just coat them all in the butter, now it's melted, and pop them back in the oven. So the recipe says to brown the chicken in hot butter, and I love the flavour of butter, so I'm using the rest of that 90 grams of butter. And what I like to do is just add a tablespoon or so of oil, and that helps prevent the butter from burning. And once the butter is foaming, then I take the chicken and place it skin side down in the pan. And I will also cook this chicken in batches. I've got 5 chicken fillets, so I'll cook 3 at the start and then another 2. And I want to get some lovely colour on them, but it's no rush. You don't have to do it over a really high heat. I've just got that on a moderate heat. And it's a good idea always to move your pan around on the stove so the chicken or whatever you're cooking cooks evenly. Now it's important to brown the chicken really well here, because that's the only browning it will get. And rendering the chicken fat also lends a beautiful flavour to the sauce. And when that is nice and brown, I transfer it to a plate and fry the other 2 fillets. Now the apples have had half an hour in the oven and they're still holding their shape and they're soft. I'm turned off the oven. I'm just going to leave them parked in the oven with it off. So the chicken has all been browned. And if you're left with like too much fat, Just drain some off. Then pop the chicken back in the pan. If you're using the Grand Marnier or Cointreau, just sprinkle over a tablespoon on top of the chicken, and then just 3 tablespoons of chicken stock. In my case, 3 tablespoons of water and just a half a teaspoon of chicken stock powder, because the chicken has been seasoned already and I don't want to run the risk of it being too salty. So now all I do is put on a lid. So I'm going to cook those chicken thigh fillets for 25 minutes covered, and the steam should cook them and they'll be super nice and juicy. If they were bone-in pieces, I would leave them for 35 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to toast the almonds. I just take 30 grams of flaked almonds. Now I don't know if I forgot to mention, but the chicken's only on low. On my induction hob, it's on number 4. And these almonds don't take long to toast. So when you can start to smell the almonds, that means they're not far off. And you just want them lightly toasted. So I'm going to remove these from the heat now. Now the recipe calls for thickened cream, preferably with 45% milk fat. In Australia, our thickened cream is usually about 35%. But if you're overseas, I know some countries you can't get thickened cream like this. Just use some creme fraiche instead. Or otherwise, if it's just really single pouring cream, it will just mean that you have to reduce the sauce more before it's finished. This chicken has been simmering away here or poaching for about 20 minutes. And now time to finish the sauce. So what I do is I remove the chicken, increase the heat a bit, and to this liquid I add the other half a tablespoon of Cointreau in my case, or Grand Marnier, or nothing at all. And then the 300 ml of thickened cream. And I bring it to the boil, scraping up any brown bits on the bottom if there is any, because that's all flavour. And I'm just going to simmer that gently just until the sauce reduces a bit. And you don't want to reduce it too much, just enough that it's sort of like a sauce consistency. And that's enough. That's been about 3 minutes. Now I'm just going to taste it for seasoning. Always taste a sauce after it's reduced, not beforehand, because when it reduces it gets saltier. Yum. But it does need a bit of salt, and just in lieu of salt, I'm just going to add like another 1/4 teaspoon of chicken stock powder and some black pepper. Taste it again. Maybe a tiny bit of salt and a bit more pepper. Then stir in the flaked almonds that have been toasted. Now at this stage the recipe says to pour this over the chicken as you serve it and garnish it with apples. But what I like to do is I put the previously baked apples into the sauce, and at this stage you can pour that over the chicken. But because the chicken's not a crispy skin chicken, I'll just put it back in with the sauce with any juices that may have accumulated there. And that is chicken Celestine. And the sauce will thicken a little bit as it cools down slightly. Some of the beautiful sauce on top. And I've just made a simple salad here that helps cut the richness of the sauce. And that's just a lovely dinner. Seriously, it's really beautiful. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this if you make it. I think it's delicious, and so does Mike. And I can just hear him now finish whippersnipping, the poor man. It's really hot outside. So he'll enjoy this for lunch today. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. Have a great week.